audio on, and with that, welcome, recording live from north of the wall. That's a Game of Thrones reference. Welcome to our weekly D&D game, where you, the audience, get to join in and be the voices inside one of the party members. Because in this game, you are Legion. My name is Nicholas Coy Santillo. I'm going to be your game master today, and I'm joined by our fabulous players. Claire Hogan, who's covering for her understudy, Alberta Johnson. She is off camera today, calling in from the great northern rectangle itself, Saskatchewan, which does not yet have video on their internet. She'll be playing as Juniper Arlie Candlewick III, and her totally normal, not at all the pivot around which all possible realities turn, Library Cat. Michael Keane is coming as Harold Gray, no relation to his rodent companion, Squeak Noir, though both do share a delight to right the wrongs done by fat cats everywhere. Sam Gilroy as Thaddeus Turnpike, the born-again, wizard of the Arcane Towers, and current ruler of the port city of Calaman, which is a long story best left for another time. Finally, Sean Boyd as Aelric Tiamaticus, recently granted the title of Duke of the Hinterlands and the last true Dragonborn. And this week, our guest... I just went off script and I lost myself. Welcoming most triumphantly our special guest, Louisa Zhu, who'll be playing the ancient Warforged construct Legion aspect of Helm with all of you in the chat. Welcome, Louisa. Thank you so much for joining us for our... Oh! Okay, I need a remix on this, and that just means we're going to have 2.5 minutes of the next song before we go into another one. That's our introductions. I didn't write a previously on because I was in the air today, but let me give a little one sentence / paragraph / 5 minutes on what happened last week. Last week, Helm resolved to provide 3 days of support to the party, and they set off about 12 miles south by southwest towards an interesting point that a arcano-mechanical compass was pointing. Both the gnomish artificers and elven mages saw something there in the distance. The party arrived at some sort of an ancient artifact device and ended up having to combat a ancient clay golem that had been left there as customs, I suppose you could say. After defeating the clay golem with some just classic Aelric taking some blows, turned into some Greco Dragonborn wrestling, I think is kind of what it was. In the end, and a lot of just hammering it on the ground. Arlie did a little showing off unintentionally, making Thad. I haven't necessarily. I'm putting words into his mouth as maybe embarrassed or performance anxiety around being able to activate this deactivated artifact with just the push of a hidden button that he hadn't noticed. And through that activation, an ancient portal came back to life. Do we have clarification? Is that a point of order?
6-2. I was interacting with this thing that was built by gnomes at completely the wrong level.
That's a good point.
Any
That's a good point. That
mistake.
button was more at like mid thigh level, I suppose, for you. Yeah. So it was out of your frame of reference. That does make a lot more sense.
That has absolutely no shame that he's just like the button was down there. What am I?
What am I supposed to do? Crawl around? I
Yeah.
love that. That's amazing. There was a little bit of a standoff with Harold and Dilk, our favorite Dilk. And after talking a little bit of courage into the shape-shifting druid, he transformed into a large triceratops. Um, that's what happened there. Anything else that we want to share that I feel like I might have missed from last week?
Helm kind of had a breakthrough. Helm kind of had a breakthrough.
why don't we
Nice.
begin our session?
Little self-discovery.
Yeah, why don't we begin our session kind of looking into where Helm was? Because after that combat, Helm kind of stepped aside and was dealing with some of their own thoughts and feelings. So we're going to come back into the timeline here. I'm going to say we back it up just a little bit so that we can kind of dovetail in. So just moments before the activation of that arcane portal, Helm had used some magic to heal one of the mercenaries whose leg was crushed because of the falling clay golem. After which, what's happening with Helm? What's Helm doing?
Helm's just trying to keep to himself a little bit. He's processing a lot.
That's a robot joke.
He's having a
by the way.
nice little bonding moment, maybe, with Aelric, just like a very passive understanding of stoicism.
Nice. And in this moment, everyone recognizes this because I'm just going to take us back so that we can see this lovely gate. Once again, that is not the gate. That is a much less cool. That is our super cool gate that was activated. And as this gate comes to life, hums and opens to life, Helm, how do you react?
Is it a gate I recognize?
Oh.
Is it something that, like...
Give me a history check with advantage. With a 17. Yes, this is something that you recognize. This is one of the many fancy devices that existed throughout the gnomish homelands, which is now this northern wasteland. These were a large-scale transportation nodes or hubs, almost like we would be using airports or something like that, for large-scale transportation across the continent that was this region. And as a reference, this northern wasteland region that we're in is about roughly the size of the island of Ireland. So it's pretty large. And these gates would allow the instantaneous transportation of large groups of people, or large, for example, airships even could pass through them from one point to another.
Nice. So I think Helm looks over, and I think, like, his shoulders, like, perk up a little bit. I haven't seen one of these in a long time. I do admit I enjoyed this method of travel.
To Aelric, you say that? Or just in general?
Just in general. But I suppose you were probably within hearing proximity.
Right. What do you mean by travel?
Well, is this not, you go in, you can transport yourself, others, many things.
It's magic then.
Sure. And kind of fun.
Elric stands up. Thad! Harley! Harold, you should come too.
Arlie and I are standing in front of the thing, and I've taken out my spell book, and with what limited ink supplies I have, I start writing down the ruins that Josh Sewell will need in order to transport here if we so want to.
Yeah, Jelzuel, yeah. So that's kind of basically, yeah, so you don't need a roll for that. That's kind of like a ritual, just like inscribing the runes that would be used in the teleportation circle spell. So teleportation circles can work in different ways. With the teleportation circle spell, you can travel from where you are to any teleportation circle if you know the runes. And you can also create permanent teleportation circles if you cast it every day for a year. When with that 17 that you rolled, Legion, with multiple active gates in a network, they can act interconnected to one another as like active gates, which would allow someone without using the spell to pass through them. Um,
I see, like in the chat, Vikovar mentioned whether airships could pass through them. I'm curious about that as Legion 2, if he would, if he would have that information.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, this is big, right? So on the screen that you're looking at, I just did a little white circle around a figure, which is a person. So we're looking at a diameter of about 100 feet. The airship would be going like very close to the ground, but in the same way that like a large ship can get into a port that might be very tight, but it can dock at an otherwise, at a tight berth, I think would be the word. That's the word. This, with moving slowly enough, an airship like the one you witnessed being used by the enemy could pass through this portal.
So I relay this information. I'll say, it is an exciting way to travel. It is perhaps my favorite way, but there are things that you need to be wary of. These portals, there is often... They come as a set sometimes. There is a match, and if we can use them, so can others. And large armies, perhaps even an airship could pass through.
Have you guys?
Taylor.
You all made your way
Oh,
over to
Tailric's
us?
muted. Sorry, that's what's going on.
You can operate this magic.
Can I operate this magic?
You could give me a Arcana check. It depends what your your interpretation of operate would be.
Because if there's a match, then there's no magic required, right?
Yeah. So if two or more gates are active in this network, then you can travel between the two of them. Now, definitely, you could check, for example, like checking whether there are other active gates on the network. If there are more than two gates active, how do you choose what is the endpoint you're going to? Those types of things would be like the forms, the methods of use, for example. So you could be
Okay, so
you
it's
could
not
check
like a
on
thing to operate.
No, what's happened is visually what we're looking at was kind of on that image is an example of what it was looking like as activating. The series of concentric circles like opened up, revealing our like Stargate 1990s water special effects, like the abyss, that kind of metallic water effect.
What happens if you go through and nothing else is on? You just stay here?
I have never attempted that. Why don't I...
Harold
See,
pulls a
I
little
think-
book out of his breast pocket and he opens it and he looks inside. And you see him kind of shrug to himself and go, "It's close enough." And he walks directly through before anyone can stop him.
All right. Harold, you walk through this kind of metallic, watery surface. You are standing near the bottom because it's like the bottom edge is touching the ground, right? And it's going up 100 feet. As you step through, you step out looking over a vast, desolate landscape 100 feet above the ground. What you have just done is you have stepped into the surface and at the same moment stepped out of that same surface on the opposite edge of this disc, which is 100 feet up. And you begin to fall.
Okay, I'll cast Misty Step.
Okay.
Just as soon as he came through, you see Harold just kind of get shooped from a much higher position in the rig than he came out of. Lands on his ass, rolls over a bit, starts brushing sand off. It's on, but it's right over a cliff, right? So if you go through, that was so cool. If you go through, you're gonna fall. But maybe if you go through from the other side.
So to be clear, if we're looking at just because if you're looking at like a coin that's standing on its edge, what Harold just did was he walked in on the tails side, and he came out on the tails side, just at the side that's high off of the table. So walked in north and walked out south, same side of the disc, but just on the opposite. So from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock.
Upon seeing that, I poof Little Bubo into existence, and I just have him start making like a scatter plot of like flying into it on different angles and axes and trying to create a mental map of like where it's popping out on the surface.
Yeah. Give me a straight intelligence roll.
Yeah. Oops. It says there's no combat encounter. I'm currently in scene.
Ooh. You need a combat encounter to roll. I'll throw your character there. You need a combat encounter to roll for intelligence?
I have no idea. I'm just clicking on the. Oh. What the?
Oh, I just rolled initiative.
You know what? I just have a +5. I'll do it manually. Oh. 24.
Yeah, very quickly, especially with the aid of a test subject that is Little Bubo, you're able to plot out. It's kind of, this is like just basic trigonometry kind of math. So 0, 0 on a plot being the center of the disc out to the edge. Any point coming in on the opposite point will be that exit point. But the entrance and exits are coming at like on that same surface.
So my final thing before I'll ask Harold if he wants me to test Bubo on the other Little Bubo on the other side is I want Bubo to hit dead center of the disc and see what happens.
I'm gonna roll yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I'm gonna roll a luck check. This is going to be good is 11 and higher, bad is 1 to 10. Okay, Little Bubo flies in perfectly at the center after you've like created this kind of mental plot. I don't know if you've like written it in your notebook at all, but kind of like figured out very clearly this mental plot. Little Bubo fires directly into the center, and a fluff of feathers appear around the entire circle of the ring.
Harold just reaches out and takes Thad's hand in his hand.
No, that's why we had. See if the elves have any incense. I'll walk in through the other side then. But now we know that it is dangerous. I walk around to the other side and do what Harold suggests.
To do the kind of thing that he did?
Yeah, I walk to the head side and I just walk in the same spot that he walked through.
Yeah, you come out upside down, falling from 100 feet.
I cast Featherfall.
As you fall gently, you're able to watch this kind of slowly rippling metal 1992 CGI surface.
It's side agnostic. This is just its default state. I confirm to everybody as
you fall slowly with and at the same speed as one or two of the feathers that have caught some of the breeze. Arlie wanted to respond to Aelric's call.
yeah, I think Aelric called us over, and but now I think I've kind of lost the thread of everything. Did Sam just float himself off into the distance? I mean, Thad, not Sam. I'm confused about how the feather fall. Like, I was literally when he was making the Arcana check, I just was gonna shout over to Aelric and be like, oh, just like, yeah, we'll be right there. I just think Thad is concentrating on something. But that was, I, but and the moment is gone. So I think now something's actually happening magically.
They've just been spending some time testing kind of how this portal is working, like the logic of this portal. Because it's sitting like a coin on a surface. Only like one little piece of it's touching the ground. When Harold and then Thad walked into the portal surface at that bottom, they appeared out of the same face of the circle, but on the opposite end, which is 100 feet off the ground. So Harold began falling, used Misty Step to save his fall. Thad began falling and used Feather Fall to save his fall.
No, my joke was just a time kill while Thad was while Sam was looking for buttons. It was just gonna be like we'll be right there. So anyway, so I'm. I regret putting myself in the queue. I'll go back on mute.
Okay.
Sorry, Arlie. Critical information though. If you step through, you will fall 100 feet off a cliff.
Really? Oh,
Wanted to make sure you were tracking that piece.
Oh yeah. Okay, Arlie.
Okay.
Arlie did, but Claire, I get it now. But we come out the same side, like the same face.
Regardless of which side, it's a default setting. Anyone who's paying attention to anything Harold's doing right now will notice that he's taken his notebook back out of his breast pocket and he's crossed something and he pulls it back and puts it back in his pocket. And he's getting some rope out of his bag. And so I don't think I need to make a survival roll just to tie rope around my waist. No. So he ties rope around and he walks up to Aelric and hands him one end of it.
Aelric takes it.
Would you?
Aelric takes it and says, "Yes, I will hold it. I have one question. I have one question.
Okay.
Where do you go when you go?
Oh, I don't know yet. I'm gonna figure it out.
Wait. What does it look like?
More of this.
Okay. And then Aelric just like leans into the hold, wraps it around his hips, and just like leans in, digs the heels in.
So you're gonna walk through tied to a rope? Okay, give me a dexterity check. This is weird. Anyone who plays Portal is kind of what we're... Dex check here. If you need your character, I can throw him on this screen for you. Okay.
Gonna use luck. I got one more charge before...
Okay.
To take a long rest.
23. Okay.
I'll do it.
Harold, with a rope tied around your waist and this anchor point of Aelric behind you, you step through the surface. This is now the second time, and so like it's not as unexpected, and so there's more kind of like trying to, I assume, like just be aware of what's going on. It's like putting your face into a surface of water, but also putting your face out of a surface of water at the same time.
But I go backwards.
What you do is you
walking backwards.
You're gonna walk backwards. You're gonna walk backwards. You're gonna end up upside down, falling backwards out of the top of the circle. At which point the rope goes taut. You swing back into the circle and then fall above Aelric and just are able to avoid hitting him and land on your feet.
The last time I went through, it worked for me. I went straight through.
You do go through, and then the rope pulls you back. So you go through, there's a rope that connects you. The rope starts to pivot fulcrums. You pass back through, which is now further down, which is further above Aelric, which means you end up coming out at a speed above Aelric and almost landing on his head, but are able to avoid.
So if you went through directly, and now Thad, as that experiment concludes, Thad goes, and if you had swung directly into the center, you would have negated yourself, exploding into viscera. So I'm gonna try to
Is that even audible to us right now? He's feather falling on the other side of this thing, right?
Oh no,
I
he came
landed-
back around. He landed back around and was like, okay guys, like it's each side is its own side.
I didn't make it back in time for you to do your final experiment, but when I do, and I rush, it spits you in a coil of rope, does like some Lovecraftian weird coil.
Non-Euclidean physics. Yeah.
Gnomes made this? Did gnomes make this?
Gnomes made this. Gnomes absolutely made this.
Garbage. Destroy it.
I can confirm that is the case.
I think that we should set up camp here for tonight. There's a couple more magical experiments that I want, and then we should maybe boogie back to the rest of the army, and see what's been going on with the troop movements.
Before we leave this, I might suggest Helm has said he knows how to use it.
Oh,
Right, Helm, are you holding out on us? Just blatantly watching them fall through the sky? Like, I mean, it's quite funny, I don't blame you at all. But are you holding out on us?
This is a great meta question. Am I? Is this like would I know why this is happening in part of that check, or is it just that this
You rolled
particular one
a
is operating-
17, right?
Correct.
Now that you've been watching stuff, I'll say that you can roll again.
Okay. That's the wrong
Because you have some new data.
normal. Yes.
Normal. With a
16.
16. So what are you trying to what are you asking specifically?
Whether I would have already known, like observing what's happening, would I know what's happening? Like I know that about the connection points, I know about the possible network. Would I know why?
Yeah, okay.
Physics is
Yeah,
working
with
this
this
way?
so with a 16, what you're able to conclude with watching your companions do these physical tests is a conclusion that you are witnessing the gate in a state you have never witnessed it before, which is a state of disconnection. So this is a gate that has no secondary points, therefore it is its own point. So
okay, thank you.
its endpoint is its starting point. So what this is this is an active gate, but it has no network connected to it, which means there are either all other gates have been destroyed, or they're all deactivated, or something else.
Does Helm
Then
say
I-
as much?
I
Sorry, go ahead.
say, "No, of course I know what is happening. I am a god." But beyond the fact that the portal is disconnected and does not have a match, I do not know further than that. But, as I exclaimed before, it is a fun way to travel, right?
Wait, so I went in. When I came out just over there.
I
There?
can't tell you too much about that, but the portal does not seem to. It seems to be the only one. There is no other network currently active.
Fucking gnomes. And Harold's back in his booklet, and you can see him rewriting something in his list, where he closes his little book, shoves it back in his breast pocket.
Helm, but these were all built to be spider webbed together, correct?
I mean, like a piece of wood, you can connect as many as you want. They are not inherently necessarily made to have many or few.
Would we possibly be able to ping the system or send a signal through the system in order to try to feel out where other locations might still be, or they can be turned back on?
I've never tried that myself, but I'm sure you could give it a shot.
And if we wanted to, could we maybe send a surge of energy through to destroy this wicked gnomish devilry
No, no,
once
no,
and
no.
for all? Or
Well,
would
just to
that
be
be
clear, if we can figure out a way that we can utilize this network or this spider web, and the enemy can't, we could possibly outmaneuver them across the entirety of the wastes.
wait, Claire's in the notes, she wants to do something. Claire, we can hear you if you unmute, but you're muted.
Oh yeah, I know.
Okay.
I mean, I was asking if I could do a religion check, and Koi answered, "This is not a religious artifact." So I successfully assessed that this is not in my wheelhouse,
Some
and that
secular devilry.
yeah,
Yeah.
that Arlie doesn't have any. She can't meditate on this one and come up with something useful. I was just for a moment curious about the network and if there would be some kind of overlap with the gods and their stories, but doesn't
With
seem like
the
it.
gods and their stories. No, not inherently in the machine itself. It'd be like a history check if you're thinking about like if there's any relationship in terms of how gods or like they might have been like a shared use or story around their use or anything like that would be kind of like history.
A history gnome check. Like what is because Harold keeps bashing them, but I don't know. Obviously, it's just a history check, but
yeah,
I'm
about the
not-
gnomes.
I'm not terribly intelligent, so this is gonna be a bit grim.
I'm in 21.
All right, I'll take it.
All right. Well, your time in the in the cleric's tower reading a lot. You just have that random knowledge every once in a while. You're like, oh, that reminds me of that book. What are you searching for in your memory to share?
I'm just curious about like, what if this? I mean, one, is this really gnomish technology, or is Harold just in a mood? And if it is, or whatever it is, do I know? I don't know when they were built, or if I don't know when they were built, do I have a sense of like they've always been here and we've never known how to use them? Like I'm just like looking for some context, or maybe we already know that stuff, and someone in the chat should tell me what it is that we don't know.
Yeah. So I
That
mean,
Arlie knows.
with a 21, Helm did say that the gnomes had built it. Helm has a memory of that. And from your research in the tower, you would have been able to. You can confirm that this is gnomish design. This is kind of like the arcano-mechanical technology, steampunky technology that is very gnome-ish. The thing with the gnomes is the world since the Cataclysm is twofold a medieval age. In one way, there's been the loss of the Celestials and that all of the gods have disappeared, and it is known in many circles as the Banal era. So we are in this age of like very low magic, disconnected from the gods. A lot of religious temples have been either converted or were destroyed shortly during or after the war. There's also been a loss in technology in the same way, like when an empire falls, there's often like a loss of knowledge and technology, and that is because where the cataclysm occurred was the gnomish homelands, which is like the gnomes were the ones who created all of this kind of steampunky technology. So in all of your studies, there's constant references to this type of technology that is that high level steampunk, like technology that can do things that only mages can do. And what the gnomes were doing was they were bringing this capacity to, instead of being a mage and having to study and have some sort of innate, difficult to describe connection to arcana, the gnomes could create devices that would allow anyone who could use the device to have a similar effect of magic, which was this kind of democratization of power. But it also allowed power to go into the hands of people who might not be trained. So there was a lot of tension between the mages and the gnomes historically. That tension dispersed when their entire land was devastated.
Okay. Did everybody get that? Or are we gonna make Arlie repeat it? We good? Yeah. Damn, it's old. Also, it was very socioeconomically relevant and meaningful that they made such a thing, especially now in the time we're in. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Helm nods fervently.
But definitely Thad, if you want, you can try to backwards ping. You were using, I think, as a like to try to use this device to ascertain locations of others. I'd like to hear kind of how you want to go about doing that, but you can try for sure.
Well, I think that how I would do it would depend on if we were going to spend the night here or not.
Cool.
Let me guess. We're gonna spend the night here, and you're gonna just look at this gnomish devilry all night because, oh my
We
god,
have to
gnomes.
spend the night. We've pushed through 2 shifts of
Yeah,
rest.
we
just
do.
and then we immediately got into a fight.
Also,
So-
it was
I mean, it
very
really wasn't
very
much of a
helpful.
fight. I mean, if we're being honest, it wasn't much of a fight. But
Yeah, so I'm going back to the map here just to show you where we are. So it is night. We are kind of in the middle of that night shift. During that night shift is when we have the movement of the NPC tokens here. So our elven ship has begun moving in the direction that you have sent them. The rangers have begun moving in the direction that you sent them. Did you are you maintaining any connection with like communication with these two parties?
We've got the yapper.
yeah, we got the more portable gnome communicating device that's on my wrist. I think you said.
So
now?
you were given, yeah, those wrist devices work for party to party, but within a single hex, whereas the backpack
Oh.
operates. I'm happy to say that you brought the backpack, or that someone in the party brought the backpack. There is only one other backpack, so the question would be who has the other backpack?
I would. Well,
The gnome back at base camp would have it.
World would never allow for that. He just
Well,
wouldn't. I would
They-
assume that either Darrett would have it or Jezuel, because Jezuel is in the party that's going to look for the airship, and its movements back towards our home base would trigger us to immediately return.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jelzuel on the elven ship would have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Wonderful. So when you check in with everyone, kind of in this, as you're kind of making a decision as to what's going on, Jelzuel gives you an update that they're traveling north along the coast. The coast is beginning to cut away to the west, and they should be able to reach the coast outside of Exile's End tomorrow. He says the Rangers had started to move towards where you had assigned them, and as they were going up the coast, they saw the moving shadows heading southwards in an intercept course to those Rangers, but they weren't able to see anything from the coastline.
One thing this also allows that is for you to contact Jezuel to ask how he would go about doing this. You know.
Well, it was gnomishly built, so that would be like I'm trying to, if I'm trying to tap into the gnomish network, I have to think like a gnome. I think that like the broader magical, any teleportation circle can interact with this thing is not the yeah.
Okay.
But
I'm just saying you could give it a
yeah.
shot.
Yeah, I'm gonna see how much of my little plan Koi lets me yes and because I have justifications.
Yeah, I was just moving tokens on a board, so I was doing that 20% listening. Kind because it's hard to move tokens on a board. So throw it to me. I'm focused.
All right, so if I get stuck at any point in time, I definitely will call into Jezebel to see if he has any suggestions.
Mhm.
But as everybody who's studied building magical artifacts in passing would know, that while a lot of people think that it's about laying magics onto materials, that's actually just sort of the basic form of magical artificing. That's why you see +1 weapons. You don't have to attune to them. You can kind of just pick it up and you get the benefit of the thing. But if you want to go like a level deeper to build a magical item that a user would have to attune to, the artificer must attune to the magical item while they are in the process of creation. And sort of this magical flow allows them to build the magical pathways, almost maybe like code, but not code, into the magical item to process the spell. So what I would like to do is to build some sort of like basic magical meditation circle, and I'm going to take as many hours as I need and as many spell slots as I need to try to attune to the tower itself.
Cool.
And I just kind of want to feel the pathways of the magic inside of it and sort of see if I can like map out that interconnectedness that was built into it. And more than anything, right now I'm just trying to glean if how many are currently activated to it, and if I can glean any kind of sense of distance and direction from how they are connected, if I can.
Okay, I am going to say we're going to do 2 rolls, and then I'm going to move over to Helm while you're going through that. So I'm gonna find the result here, and then we're gonna move away as you're going through narratively the time of this ritual that you're casting. First of all, roll for me a D. You're gonna roll a D4, and then you are going to roll Arcana with advantage. The D4 is going to be the required number of spell slots in total that it takes. That's gonna be one or. This could be like multiple 1-level spell slots or a single whatever. And the Arcana check with advantage, because you have Jelzuel on the line to provide some online tech support, is going to be what you are able to discover. And the DC for that is going to be a minimum DC of 10, and every 5 over that, so at 15, at 20, at 25, you will learn more.
Okay, so the first roll, the 1d4. All right.
Okay.
We can bank that if I wanna. Can I figure out the math?
Figure it out. Like, I just wanted to. You're gonna roll these 2, and then I'm gonna move over, and then I'm gonna come back.
Perfect. And then Arcana with advantage. So 26 is my best roll.
So that's. Oh my god. So that's you passed it plus 5, 10, 15. Okay, amazing. Okay, Helm. You wanted to do something while we're making camp. At this point, I assume we're basically making camp till dawn, with Thad doing this ritual. Yeah. But
yeah,
Helm.
and we're gonna have to make a pretty big camp. Don't forget, we also have the Gut Rippers and light cavalry.
Yeah.
Cav.
Sorry to interrupt, Louisa. I asked you, and then I interrupted immediately.
No worries. Where have people been coming out of? Or was it the top of the portal, usually?
If they walk in at that bottom, they come in. Like if they walk in at 6 o'clock, there's like a clock sitting on its side. If they walk in at 6 o'clock, they come out at 12 o'clock.
Okay. Based on that, I'm going to... I think you see how I'm kind of standing in front of the portal, and then he's like clinking his metal fingers together, and it kind of has like a musical quality, and it's a bit rhythmic. And the kind of lights that are in his eyes kind of close, and then after a while he stops clinking his fingers together, but you actually still hear the sound of it, and he pulls his hands apart, and there's like kind of like a thin gray light in this form of a wire. And he's going to just open his arms up towards the top of the portal as the eyes open as well, and just a straight bar of light is shining through. And I would like to cast Alarm so that it creates a 20-foot cube just outside of that. So in case during the experiments we discover or another portal becomes active, then we will be alerted if anything comes through.
Cool. So you've set up an alarm at that ground for anything moving into or out of the portal surface, standing on the ground would set off that alarm.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, nice. Anyone else wanna jump in while Thad is finishing? Because this ritual is going to take some time.
Harold
This
doesn't want
is-
any part of this. You see him. He's found a patch of shade by a rock outcrop. His hat is over his head. His arms are crossed, and he looks fairly asleep.
Nice. Beside you is the curled up library cat, and curled up in the belly of the library cat is a little hat with a feather.
Well, since we are so vast, I think we're going to have to create at least a ring so we can keep the horses corralled in the center, and then keep a perimeter around, so we can mix the cavalry troops and the gut rippers, so we can keep everybody in the center of the circle, kind of a circle of the wagons type of feel, so the horses aren't at risk. That's my general feeling about the camp. Anybody else can kind of jump in there.
Yeah, jump in. Yeah. You can. We have a question from Vikovar as to the alarm, which is a good question.
It pings in Helm's mind.
Nice.
So if Helm is sleeping, it'll ping him as well.
Nice. And Aelric is like assisting the this small force of like setting up a perimeter and kind of making themselves safe for the rest of the night, which is not as long as it might have been. I'm going to say everyone is allowed to take their short rest throughout this evening. The only person who can't do that is Thad, because he's actively casting this whole time until dawn. Thad, we're going to come back to you. Do you have a... I mean, this is not like a, haha, you didn't say you took it, therefore you don't have it. Would you have like a copy of a map? And if your party decided to take that, who has it? Or would Thad have his own copy? Or
yeah, I mean, I think that considering that I'm trying to discern like positions, I have called over. We were with the light cavalry, and I think that a lot of the navigating equipment would have been with the light cavalry or with the mercenaries that we had, considering that we were like the front shock troop, as it were. We were the spear point. So I think that I would have called over for the map if we have not officially as the party been calling for it. Yeah, that would have been part of my prep for sure.
Cool. So in that case, describe to me how you cast this ritual. You're going to be casting 4 spell slots. That could be a 4th level spell or 4 first level spells. Somehow you can describe somehow how you dump that magic in to this device to help create some sort of a resonance cascade, because I like Half-Life. I'm interested to see what that looks like, what that spell looks like.
So I think that like near the structure, so that like the little circle that I'm building would be on top of it. I know that it's like a penny's edge, or no, like next to one of the barriers that's in it. I sort of have like a linked. I build my own little circle that's sort of bisecting the actual stone thing. That takes about roughly an hour of however long this is going to take. And then I begin to I strip down to my loincloth. I sit in the center of the circle, and I begin a meditation where I, using 2 second level spell slots, just sort of like at a very, those breathing exercises that you'd have to do where you have to like have the breath come out as slowly as possible. It's all about, it's like that kind of control, but with your magical energy. And the circle is taking it into the object, and it's I've never really done that. This is all theory, not practice for me. But the idea is that this is how you have to create an attunement for a magical object that is this big in order to manipulate it to do the things that you would need to do.
I love it.
And then it's just like a meditative chanting space where I'm sort of pumping out this, trying to build some sort of like magical two-way connection.
Cool, yeah. And you're able to like it's there's also like Thad has I guess the number one thing that people would see in the setting up of this ritual, I don't know how much magical rituals people have watched Thad cast. He's definitely cast magic in front of people. But he always was fairly hot-headed and impulsive. They were really fast. Not only is this a ritual, but he preps the ritual. Like gets the Fargab backpack, sets that up, gets a map from the leader of the light cavalry, gets the arcane compass that you took from the gnome. You set this all up on the line with Jelzuel. He helps you to make sure that you're using the right symbols in the circle that you're setting up. And it's this kind of like, yes, but remember to do, / point XL. I'm using computer coding. Thad, as you're going through this ritual, there's a series of levels of awareness that kind of come to you, with a 26 giving you the maximum number of successes you could have gotten in this ritual. At first, what happens is a strong connection, a strong feeling of these other connection points existing. This answers the question of, has everything else been destroyed, right? So yes, there are gates out there that haven't been destroyed. Certainly many of them have during the Cataclysm. There might have been dozens of these throughout the area, but some still exist, though they are closed. As you continue to realize that and then connect to that and open your awareness, the compass begins moving past the current gate in a direction to the northwest, to a new point. Then it starts wiggling. It's unclear exactly where it is, and you start to realize it's more than just one gate that is unactivated, but multiple. Eventually, as you continue to hold back on releasing this ritual with these smaller levels of knowledge and commit to going as deep as possible, you're able to, whether with your eye, I think because this is Arcana, it almost feels like with your eyes closed, moving over to the map and making a series of X's on the map. And I'm having trouble. 1, 2, and 3.
Huh. All right. All right, that's very good to know.
And with that, as you open your eyes to kind of see the points that you have marked on the map, and there's a connection of your body being this conduit of the arcane wisdom that you have tapped into, your eyes almost pull you out of that ethereal connection back into the physical plane. And in that moment of confirmation that your eyes give you, you also drop. And there is not enough energy because this is an inactive network. And you are left with these scratches on a parchment.
I throw up immediately and then shout for alcohol and food.
Awesome. Yeah, as Thad finally calls for alcohol and food, this is kind of just as everyone has found themselves comfortable. and you kind of Aelric set up the camp. We've circled the horses. People have laid out. Anyone who's laid out a cot directly under the open sky has been able to do so. Anyone who's thought that they might have enough time to set up a tent only finishes the final peg by the time he makes that shout. So this is very much that short rest. Early dawnlight is beginning to creep over the horizon. As Thad completes his ritual and the new day dawns.
But can I take a survival roll, please?
Yeah. What do you want
Should
to do?
probably be maybe it's not survival. I know there's. What do we roll to see if we notice that there are shadows in the hex directly adjacent to us?
That would be so the hex directly next to you is going to be a minimum of, no. It's going to be about over 3 miles. So I would say you're looking at, it's going to be I could give you nature is an animal thing. It's going to be a perception check, and it's going to be a DC 18 because it is far away. Amazing. Harold, in the type of in the way that farmers or sailors can stare at a horizon, smoking their pipe, and say, "It's going to rain today."
Yeah. Harold. You see Harold rubbing his left knee.
Yeah.
Your knee hurts. And he goes and kind of scampers to the top of one of these rocky outcroppings and DC quite.
Yeah, as the early dawn, like the pre-dawn, before the sun has even crested the horizon, starts to brighten the sky, what at first seems like just the long shadows of the various outcroppings, you realize is a lingering shadow below no clouds. To the northwest, these creeping shadows on the horizon.
I look back. Thad's just had a massive effort. Are people awake?
Yeah, no one's really like there was enough time for military wise. It's like everyone's been allowed to like rest and eat and refuel, if that makes sense. So like check on their equipment, feed the horses, have water, eat. And so they can be moving again. But this hasn't been. No one even like set out full campments to pretend to sleep. So this was
So
not.
we haven't even had what would be D&D called our short rest. Even though we've rested as a party, you're using
No.
that as a general.
Everyone who's not Thad gets a short rest. But a short rest is in our sake. It's only a couple of hours. So you've had enough
Yeah, for
time to
sure.
like take a rest. You get mechanically you get your short rest.
Gotcha.
But no one tried to sleep except for maybe some of the mercenaries who are just fearless and willing to fall asleep. Harold,
Harold did.
anyone who
First thing, right
who could do kind of like one of those cat naps, just kind of like sit back on a stone, get a little nap. But you wouldn't have had time to do that and get a meal. It's like one of those, like, you make your choice for what you need. Like, do you need to eat? Do you need to check on your equipment? Do you need to take a couple of minutes to sleep? It's that, like, 90 minutes kind of dedicated rest.
Okay. Have we encountered one of these before, or did we just avoid it? I can't remember.
Yeah, you've avoided them when you were traveling to Exile's End. Bubo helped you stay out of their path. They wandered independent of the wind. That was the one thing that you were able to know, but unaware as to whether they had any sort of like agency. That's unclear. When you were at the Arcane Crucible, where you encountered the Shadow Dragon, you were like wreathed in a sort of darkness that you take to believe was one of these wandering shadows.
Yes.
Might just what do you make of that? Arrow points across the horizon to where
Yeah.
you see like the shadow that would be cast by a storm cloud coming over the distance, but it's no storm cloud. Kind of like Nope, I guess. Except you could see it. Yeah. No clouds. So not like Nope.
That is unusual. Would Helmet know anything about this? Is this something he's encountered before?
For this, I would say give me a... You could give me an Arcana or a Nature or a Religion check.
Ooh, I need to choose. Let's go Arcana again. 16.
16. 16 Arcana. There are forms of magic that gain their power from not... What am I saying? Most magic comes from some form of energy. Now, the gods themselves can be a boundless supply of energy in and of themselves. And there are some synonymous forms of energy like the sun and the god of the sun. Also, fire, life itself, even death is a form of energy. And some of these energies have their entire like planes of existence to them. There is also anti-energy, or the opposite of energy. In the same way that there is light, there is also power that can be derived from darkness. In that way, there are entire schools of magic that can derive their power and harness shadow and blackness and darkness. And there are realms, specifically a shadow realm, where this is kind of exists in the same way, inverted as to how the sun shines on the earth. Darkness shines and like gleams energy. Now the thing is, normally that type of control is usually limited to fairly small, at best maybe like a humanoid shadow form, or controlling what a shadow might be able to do in terms of hiding an individual or an ally, or obstructing someone's vision. At this scale that you're looking at, which is hundreds of yards, like the size of this giant casted shadow along the land, that speaks to some sort of greater force than what would otherwise be like a mortal magic wielder.
Okay, I guess I realize some of this. I'm trying to figure out how that would specifically translate to what I would think about this cloud. I mean, but I guess I'm positing that that is the type of magic that is being utilized.
Yeah, I mean, it's so you were like with that arcana check, kind of looking with like within a arcane lens. This looks very similar to what a smaller mage might be able to do with a shadow, manipulating shadow or darkness on the scale of, a couple of yards or even a few hundred feet. But these shadows are, maybe like a mile across. So like vastly more powerful than the type of scale that someone like Thad or any equivalent human magic wielder might be able to do. That might either be a massively powerful wielder, it might be a magical force that is somehow become untethered from whatever brought it onto this plane. It might be like a shard of some sort of an energy from another plane, or a vastly powerful wielder who is able to be using these like a smaller wielder would wield smaller shadows. but like those are all kind of options. Definitely, it's not natural. Definitely, it is like it is. It looks like these shadow, like it moves like living shadow, which you recognize as almost like a form of life or a form of power itself.
Harold kind of sees Legion processing and goes, two questions. Can it hurt us? Or can we hurt it?
Wherever this magic exists, there must be a source of power, so I imagine we can hurt it. It would just be determining the source specifically. This might be all in vain, but I'm looking to burn some slots and
Hell yeah.
just I think Helm kind of waves and turns his hand. I don't really know if this is the right spell, but I think, yeah, I'll cast See Invisibility. So I can see invisible creatures and objects if they were visible, and I can also see onto the ethereal plane. Just to see if there is anything. I think it's more, not necessarily that he thinks that's what it is, but it's kind of like, just in case.
Due diligence.
Yeah. What's the range on that? Or is it just sight?
It says self, so I'm gonna just
Okay, so just
imagine what
you can see invisible things in the distance you can see. Yeah, as
It'd be
opposed to
wild
like
if it was, you can see invisibility on yourself.
yeah.
Not the most useful.
Well, some spells are like you can see in the ethereal plane up to 100 feet or like up to 30 feet from you or something.
Yeah.
Okay, cast that and give me a perception with advantage.
Okay. I cast it. And perception with advantage. 14.
So it's far away. This is like far. This is over 3 miles away. You're looking right. This is pre-dawn. It's darkness in twilight, or kind of pre-dawn twilight. But in the same way a sailor might look out over water and tell through the movement of the waves there are fish there, you look over the shadows and it is not just a darkness, but there is something in it.
And then, so I think a little quieter, I whisper to Harold, I don't know what, but something's coming. I would alert the others.
Elric turns to, Harold turns to Aelric, who in our chat said that he'd come up beside us by this point, and kind of just nods to him. Lead on.
I was hoping to take a moment to get a message to Wyhan. Do we have time for this, do you think?
I mean, sending 25-word message, like we're talking about like in terms of time scale, this is like being on a ship in the open water and seeing the sails of another ship on the horizon, right? Like it is far away. There's no guarantee that it's going to be coming directly to you, that you can't avoid it.
Okay. So it doesn't look like we have much cover here. If you go back to that other map, certainly
No.
not enough cover to hire 200 light infantry or light.
Oh no,
cavalry.
you only have a couple dozen horses with you. That's like the majority of the forces back at Wrecker's Edge. So you have about 20 some odd horses and then about 18 just like mercenaries on foot, plus yourselves and a small rat in a hat, a library cat, and a triceratops.
Do we think we can
sees
get
Triceratops.
Yep.
Yuck.
Yeah, Aelric was about to turn to Harold and ask if Harold could convince Dilk to turn into something flying and do a quick run.
Dilk.
Yeah, I mean the Triceratops responds to you. Does anyone have speak with animals? No?
Not prepared. No, I don't think I have.
Okay.
But wouldn't we be able? Sorry, is there a reason we don't want to use sending, or is it message? Whichever one is the super long range, all the entire plane.
Well, that's the one I want you to use with Wyhan.
Oh,
But
okay.
I also
Oh,
want, while that's
Oh.
going on, I would like, since we have time, I'd like to
Yeah.
see if we can get some more recon on the storm, and if we could convince Dilk to be, because is Bubo gone at this point? Like little Bubo is gone. Like tiny Bubo is
Did
like
little
zapped.
Little
Yeah,
Bubo exploded.
Yeah.
Just
So
making sure.
that's kind of what I thought. So Elric's trying to find a way to get some recon of the cloud, given what Helm has said.
Okay, so let's do the scene of the send, and then I'll talk to Dilk. And
Sounds
we can
great.
parallel path.
Nice.
Good. We need to commune with Wyhan to find out more about everything that we're facing right here. That's what Elric says out loud.
And also to keep our bargain.
How many days have gone by?
This is
Not that many.
this is 24 hours since the agreement.
Yeah. One day.
Cool.
What I will say is that if Dilk were to do any recon, that would be like a full shift in terms of our time. So that'd be like our morning shift. We do have time to do some communication, like within the end of this time frame. But if you want to do any like action, which would be scouting or anything like that, we're in travel time, so that's going to take our 8 hours of the morning.
I'm gonna talk to Dilk first and see if Dilk has any idea what this could be. You know, being an 1,000-year-old druid has its perks.
Yeah, if you want to, do you want to give me a persuasion check DC 12 to get him to turn out of a Triceratops, because he feels brave in that form. Amazing. 21. All right. How do you convince him to to come out?
Harold just says, Dilk, I need your help.
Hey, buddy. Anything I can do?
Yeah. You see over there on the horizon that real ominous shadow that no cloud is casting?
Yeah.
What's that?
Thinks about it a little bit. Says, looks like a living shadow. Bigger than I've seen before, though. Not pleasant. We're not going there, are we?
Oh, but it looks like it might be headed our way.
Give me a survival check with advantage as the two of you look towards it.
Is this conversation loud enough that everyone can hear it, or is this like between them only?
In general, I'm always going to say you can hear it unless you want to not hear it.
Okay.
Just to simplify things.
19.
With a 19, it's not moving. It is moving straight south. If it continues in this direction, it will pass you just to your west. It is moving fairly slow.
Yeah.
You might just be able to avoid it.
Yo, what is a living shadow? What does that mean?
Well, it's like a shadow, but okay, sorry. Oh, sorry, I forgot you guys. It's like ink, but magical ink. It's like a shadow that's alive. Like, Dilk's gonna roll a persuasion check.
As he's listening to this conversation, you just hear the clang of metal that is like Helm face palming.
Dilk. Dilk rolls really well in his persuasion check. Dilk is able to he kind of takes a breath and like goes like, okay, right, go back to basics. When magic takes a physical form, it can be anything. It can be physical or light, and sometimes it can be darkness itself. And that darkness can enshroud and cover any object. So you see how that looks like a shadow there on the ground. If you were to step into that, you would be in darkness no matter how high you went into the air because you're in that darkness. The darkness is its own plane, almost. We heard about this at a scale like this. It seems like there might have come from some sort of a fracture into the shadow realms, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't think that anything would be big enough to control something like that. That looks like, what would you say? Like almost like a flood. Like if water flooded onto the land. You might see water passing over the land that came from a larger source. No one's controlling the water, but it's cascading across the land. This is like, I would think that these shadows probably came from some sort of flood of darkness.
Is this?
You're off, Sam.
I'd like your opinion on this. Is this something that has a source that we can hurt? Is this something like a tornado that we're just better off avoiding? Do we have a bad habit of just running off half-cocked and pushing things that look mean?
Yeah, I would say this is more like a flood than a stampede. Is that a bad metaphor?
I need to ask one clarification here, or question of clarification. You've used descriptors of both a being and an event. What is it?
Well, it's like
Is it
it's like water. Like what's water? It's a shadow. It's something that
But water is an element, or it doesn't have intelligence. It cannot think unless it is cursed or unless it is being controlled. Does this have? I don't have the words. Can someone jump in here for me, please?
No, this isn't. This isn't. It's not a. We're not looking. It's not. As I said, it's not. This isn't like a stampede of creatures. This is not a. If it's what I think I'm looking at here, we're not looking at a creature. We're looking at a element. The element is shadow. These elements just don't really exist here much. But it's come
Could a
up
god
from
bring
some
this
sort of
here?
a well. But
Did God bring it here?
gods can do anything.
This is beginning to smell like Takesis.
Have you ever seen? I mean, obviously things have changed. She looks around this like empty landscape, this dead desert. Did you ever see the black pitch that gnomes used? Flammable stuff, sticky. It like oozes. This shadow, it's kind of like that. It's just, I would guess there is some form of wellspring of this shadow, and as it comes into our light, it fractures. These are the small fractures. It's like a well or a fountain or a geyser.
You said before there could be something in it. Are you sure there isn't?
Well, it's just like water. Things live in water. things can live in shadow. Certainly. I
We're
wouldn't
looking
want to
for options.
go in there.
No.
I mean, if you're asking
wouldn't
me,
want
I'd say
to either.
we don't go in there. We avoid it. We stay away from it, and we're great. That's my advice.
That's what we're looking for. That's exactly.
Oh,
Well done, Dilk.
okay. I thought you were gonna get mad at me again for like trying to avoid fighting or something like that. I mean, like
No,
you guys are crazy.
no.
But okay, that's amazing. Yes, please let us not do that. Harley begins stamping her feet behind Dilk.
Yeah. Elric just turns to Arlie and says, "Arlie."
Right. It's just this. It's infuriating. Is this what I sound like? This is terrible. I can't stand this. So is it because you were a bird or something when you looked at this? Why can't you describe anything, Dilk? My God.
Well, it has been almost 1,000 years since I used language, and yes, I was a crow for about 500 of those.
Right. Yes, it's
uh,
terribly poetic. We all love it. It's fine. So, my sense is, we can cast augury if we're just trying to decide between go towards or go away. If we have a simple that
Oh.
way or this way.
Go away. What do you want in the shadows? Go. We should go away. We don't want
Am I?
to be in there, right?
Is Claire confused? I thought we were trying to decide if we were, like our course. I thought we were trying to decide what our next course
Yeah.
of action was.
Yeah,
And
we
this is
were.
like an
We
element.
were.
Oh, Dilk agrees.
were.
I don't.
Dilk agrees.
Yeah.
Don't go.
Look, I take no pleasure in rushing into danger. I'm just looking for options, and you may not be able to avoid them forever. In any event, we should pick up camp and head east towards our station with our discovery. Unless anyone has any objections.
Okay, so do I
No.
understand correctly that we've discovered where what we're calling, I don't know what we're calling them, but these coin gates.
Sure.
We've discovered their locations on the map, and now we've discovered that there's like a bunch of shadow beings, and they're also on the map.
What we've actually known about the shadow creatures, they're the ones that are on those tokens, right? That's the tokens there, is that right, Koi?
Creatures might be the wrong word. We just discovered.
Well, I'm
But
just saying.
these are-
sure.
These are roaming
those
shadows.
coins are-
Yeah, similar
yeah, that's what
to
those
yeah,
tokens-
like roaming tornadoes
Yeah,
or yeah.
but we knew about that because when we got the map that we left the ship with, which is what this is here, those were on there. So we knew them, but we hadn't seen them yet. Not this
Okay.
close, especially.
And they've
But yes,
moved.
we
Move
what
on
we
our
came
map?
down here to investigate ended up being this. We're gonna call it Coin Gate for copyright.
Yeah.
Processes here.
Coin gate.
This Coin Gate here. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you should spell it Koy
Why?
and gate. There we go.
Excellent.
Excellent. Coin Gate.
Coin gates.
Okay, so our map is like magical and it has like moving terrain things on it. That's cool.
Oh, I don't know
we're-
if this is a physical representation, but if you want it to be like kind of magical tokens that move in relation to the knowledge that you have, I am totally cool with that. That sounds neat. I think it's an awesome little. But all I will say is that I think that's really cool, Claire. But it's gnomish.
So the map is gnomish?
The little tokens
Yeah.
that represent the things on the map that move in relation to the knowledge that you have of the surrounding area are gnomish tokens. Yeah. So it's just
I'm
a.
sorry. So when we open our map, is it like a chessboard and
Yeah.
there's tokens on top of it that stand on it?
No, you have like a rolled piece of leather
Yeah.
that contains some like some chess tokens, and then you open the parchment, and then you throw the tokens onto the parchment, and then they write themselves and move into the position of what you know is in the region, and then
Oh,
they
yeah.
move, and then you can clear them.
I missed that.
No, we just invented that because I liked your offer.
Oh.
Yeah, you just brought that into being.
That is now a thing. I think it's cool.
Okay.
I like it.
Excellent.
So
Wow. Okay, so we're looking at the map, and I've kind of lost track of the objective. I thought we were
We-
trying to decide which way to go.
That is the next.
well, we were,
choice.
but I think we've discovered that we're getting out of here. We're bugging
So-
out.
Then which way are we going?
The party's leaving. Which way are they going? We'll find out after these messages. It's 9:15. We'll be back at 9:25 from our bio break. Let everyone take a moment to think, and then we'll come back and decide what to do next. Thank you, everyone.
Towards Wrecker's Edge.
it's a fucking good song. Like I put it up because it is a legitimately good song, and it's Warforged. It's Warforged themed.
That's amazing.
Very good.
We need to post that behind our Patreon that doesn't exist yet. Welcome back. We're back. We are back. Before we left, the party was on the precipice of a decision. Where to go next? What to do? What magical travel minigame were they going to play? If you remember the way the minigame works, it's a skill challenge. You roll and then move, roll, then move. Where do we want to go, team?
So Elric turns, calls out for Darrett and Cudgel.
Yeah? They come running up.
Good. We're breaking
Oh.
camp. We're on the move. Get everyone ready.
Cudgel will be with you. Darrett's actually going to be back with the expedition force because Darrett's
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, who came with us? Who's? Oh, that's right.
with
Sorry.
Cudgel. Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
The
so
drunken
just Cudgel then.
dwarf. Yeah. Aye.
Well, who's in charge of the light infantry? Just us? Or light cavalry?
I
Is
believe
there
it.
someone that
Um.
was there an officer that was in charge of light cav?
Yes.
Probably be.
Harold.
Oh, Harold.
This was decided like in November of last year, but Harold is technically.
All right. Well,
The
Cudgel's who
the
we
player.
got. Cudgel. Elric turns, yells for Cudgel.
Aye.
Like,
Eric.
Break camp. We're on the move. As
What-
quickly as you can do it. We're going to avoid that.
I can do.
And then Elric
Pointing.
turns right back around and says, Helm, Thad, Harold, help Arlie craft a message to Wyhan. I'll run point with Cudgel. You guys stay in the back or in the middle so you can work on that. And we're going to march back to Wrecker's Edge.
Cool.
I need to
How does
know
that
if
sound?
when you said that, did you point to some sort of phenomenon we can see on the horizon, or did you point to the thing standing up on our map? Are you like?
No, I pointed to the shadow. I pointed to the thing that is shadow that might be event, might be living being, might be some
So we can see
chimerical
it, like, with our
nonsense.
eyes, like on the
Yeah.
horizon.
Oh,
my
yeah,
God,
yeah.
I missed that.
Far,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
3 miles away, at least.
Yeah, we can see it, and we can see the and Harold has already clocked how it's moving. That's why we know we can break and get around it.
Yeah. So you're moving straight back towards Wrecker's Edge.
We're gonna go since it's coming due south. We got to go back up northeast anyway, right?
So you're here. You're here at this activated gate, the Legion bus there. So back would be kind of this direction. Be 1, 2, 3. 3 hexes away.
Great. I
Yeah.
think that's what we're gonna do. But
Let's do it.
I'm just gonna leave it to the rest of the party to try to craft that thing to Wyhan so we can stay nicey nice with Helm.
Cool.
Right.
What?
So
yeah.
Show some
exactly.
progress.
Is it that we're right? So Arlie wants to go into a huddle, like a, yeah, exactly.
Helm does not crouch, so it's just like
And
How
and
you're really
Elric
not
will.
contributing to the sense of urgency. around
Elric
this.
is gonna go help Cudgel get out. I'm getting out of this space so they can do their thing.
Cool. All right, Arlie. Arlie,
Right,
yeah, huddled up.
What? Wyhan? Forgive me. Wyhan, I guess, came to our aid at some point when we took over Caliban, and also, Thad, you're quite close with Wyhan, aren't you? I mean, haven't you hung out at the tower, the wizard's tower together? Isn't that what you wizards do?
I didn't meet her until Kalamon.
That's
Oh.
terrified of her. Don't involve him in this.
Oh.
I got you, buddy.
Terrifying thing we've encountered, and we've fought like 2 dragons.
I'm so sorry. I mistook your terror for friendship. It's okay. So,
They're similar.
right. Okay. Yes, I agree. We will focus on this message. Right. So what is it that Wyhan Helm? What what is the message that you desire to communicate with Wyhan?
Helm stiffens and is a bit silent, and then when he finally speaks, it's a little bit hesitant. Not embarrassment, but there's something kind of stuck behind it. All I want to ask is, with Nire, by the time he met him, was there still a twinkle in his eye?
A tremendously personal question to throw at Wyhan out of the ether. I love it. Okay. I guess we'll draft this. You've got 25 words, and then Arlie pulls out a piece of paper and starts scribbling. I just want to make sure I get it right.
Do you not want to know if he's still alive? Wyhan, Dilkar, other members of that party could still remain.
If there is room, then yes, but it is not my highest priority.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
so I just
Arlie-
need... Sorry, go for it.
No, I was just going to invite you to.
Yeah,
go.
So Claire doesn't really understand what's going on. Arlie is smart, but I'm I'm struggling. So Helm wants to ask Wyhan if Nire still, one, is alive, two, if when Wyhan met Nire, did Nire still have that twinkle in his eye? Okay.
You got it.
Okay. And then the follow-up is, are any of the, is who still alive? Are any of the other party members still alive?
No, just Nire, right?
So by
How?
the time you met Nire, did he still have that twinkle in his eyes? 15 words. You have 25?
I think
believe.
that we maybe need to explain, like you know, Wyhan, on behalf of Helm, like maybe we'll leave out Wyhan's name as a word, but a message on we need to, you know, positive identification. We need to be like, we need to say who we are. Helm asks, okay. The god Helm asks. Love that.
All these specifics. Helm asks is like a early 2000s like Ask Jeeves site.
Helmasks.com. Yeah, it's amazing.
Right, and Wyhan's just going to be hearing Arlie's voice come in out of nowhere, provided that Wyhan doesn't have various, like, you know, I don't know, that they're not in a code of... I'm joking. I don't think that there are any... I mean, there could be magical things that would block this, but I mean, theoretically, the tower... Okay.
So Keen's
Okay.
worked it out that you have 15 words
Nice.
asking. Helm wants to know, did Nire have a twinkle in his eye? Is Nire alive? Can we contact Nire? That's 15 words.
For what it's worth, I don't
Yeah.
think Helm is trying to contact Nire.
Use the chat. Y'all use the chat to focus on what these 25 words are. I'm gonna go to. You'll have just a couple minutes. I'm gonna go to our travel, and we're gonna make our first travel roll while you finalize the wording. And Helm, you're gonna have final approval because this is a boon that they are offering you. So you get to decide what the final wording of it. You have 25 words, and they will relay whatever you want. Sean, Elric. Sorry. Okay, yeah, use the chat. We have the chat. Elric, as you set off with Cudgel, who's less drunk than normal, traveling back, What skill are we gonna roll to start our skill challenge? This is in the morning.
Yeah. Boy, that's a really good. It has to be something I'm proficient in too, right? That's what I remember.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh God.
Well, and you know what? This is this an
Okay.
annoying thing? Because this is, I think, if you only have like
No.
one,
It's
you
I
have.
just need to know how to. I just need to know how to place.
Mhm.
So, because everyone hasn't had much of a rest, and instead of trying to use intimidation,
Mhm.
because I want everyone to be with me, I'm going to use an athletics check
Okay.
and try to take flight
Okay.
to show the direction we're going, to show the necessity of leaving now.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and I
Inspired
don't,
by how
no one has
Bubo
seen
did
me.
this.
Yeah, and nobody has seen me fly, including me. So it's a big risk move here. Cool.
Amazing.
What do you want me to
Yeah.
roll?
It's gonna be
Athletics or-
athletics DC 16.
Jesus, DC 16. Okay. Oh, this hurts so bad. Did it roll?
That rolled. That is a 13.
God dang it. Well, I missed.
So
And that was
describe
with +4. Well,
with
all
plus
right.
7, I think.
+7. That's brutal, man. That's really frustrating.
That was just a 6
Well, he tries
on
to
the
take
dice.
flight and he just biffs it and he ends up falling on his face. He gets up there, he gets one big wing flap, feeling pretty confident, and then rump, 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 bang, bang, bang.
Just to hit that like a stall with the winds.
Yeah, couldn't coordinate the second flap. First flap
Yeah.
went great.
Got a good. Yeah, that's
Getting
one.
ready to say something, and then the can't talk and flap at the same time.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
God! Oh, bang, bang, bang.
It's one of those like, yeah, you get out in the car, you lean out the window, you're like, you just guys gotta come in. Oh, I just stopped looking where I was going, and
Right, exactly.
yeah. Amazing.
Damn, that's frustrating.
That is now you can
First miss.
you or anyone can use an expendable resources to curtail that failure. Otherwise, that is our failure number 1.
Well, unless somebody has like something that will add a major amount of shubi to my roll.
Some sort of it would be like
Or-
some sort of a narrative use of anything, really.
Yeah,
But
I guess that's up to the party. And
I'm
if
gonna
they
say
see me.
sounds like they're also pretty focused on working on this message.
That's what
So
I'm saying, 100%.
yeah,
I think that if anything, they hear me hit the ground.
this is like, yeah, it pretty much is like we have Aelric leading like 24, 3 forces. All right, like men, this way, Flap. I'm gonna do what Bubo did, but be inspiring on top of it, and then just catches the wind, stalls out, lands like a rock. Featherfall, yeah, that can negate that. So an awkward, it turns into just like a very. Have you ever seen someone like fall awkwardly, but it's like slow, where it's like they don't hit the ground, but it's like the most awkward stumble, and then they just end up like on their butt. You know, you're like, oh wait, almost like, what is it, Joe Biden falling up the stairs, I think is like one of those clips. Or like I've seen people like at a party and like you trip on your shoelaces, or like you kind of trip on your own pant leg, and like it doesn't hurt, but it takes like 3 seconds to hit the ground. As Aelric starts collapsing with his wings lost, Featherfall, you feel the Featherfall spell hit you, which is great, wonderful. You're gonna land safely, but it's still awkward as hell. The wings are all akimbo. You still, like, even with Featherfall, you land on one arm and one leg, like off balance. Have to pick yourself up. Not pleasant. So we're gonna have to. We negated the failure, but we do not get anywhere, as we are kind of obsessed with making sure you're okay. The party is also straggling by the time you get yourselves organized, because everyone's doing the walk and talk very slowly. They're trying to figure out exactly the wording of this message. Speaking of the wording of the message, what have we decided on? So I am reading.
Yeah, go ahead and go with that, Claire.
Claire, you're
You
the
can
one
take the- you
casting
can
the
take
spell.
control
So
here.
yeah, tell me what it is.
Okay. So yeah, Arlie casts. I forgot if it's sending or message, but I cast the appropriate one, the
Okay.
correct one that we know,
That one. Yeah.
and yeah,
And spend the spell slot, right? Because it's
yes, it is. Okay, I will go. I will go. You caught me. I
Sending.
was like, I'll do it later. Sending, and we are casting it. So I don't have D&D Beyond hooked up to.
Gotcha.
Foundry,
I did
so
it.
I'm
I
doing
did it.
manually.
I did it.
Okay,
It is
done it.
sending.
it is. Yes. So Juniper Candlewick, the official wandering cleric here. Helm asks. I'm sorry. Helm wants to know. Fuck. No, kidding. Doesn't count. Did Nire have a twinkle in his eye? Is Nire alive?
Okay. We're gonna do the next travel roll. As you send that off into the ether with successfully casting the spell.
Okay. we're
What does
gonna
it
say
look
that
like
all
when
of
you?
the-
Yeah. What does it look like when you cast that spell?
I think it looks like she takes out a golden quill and writes into the. She has to speak it out loud, but she also has to like mime a kind of like calligraphy, and then you kind of see the words shoot off into the air. And then unfortunately, when she's like, "Oh no, fuck, not," it does include those, and it sends those off as well. This is part of the word count. I had at least four words to spare.
Amazing. It's too much. I wasn't counting all of those things. Cool. Harold's going to take the next travel roll, and time is going to pass before we get a response from Nire. Or from Wyhan, sorry. Wyhan, who you sent it to.
Yeah, so seeing Aelric, Harold kind of decides that he's not really that equipped to be sending a message to a wizard. So he's going to pull out this casted gnomish map, and he's going to look for a very efficient route for the party to travel as quickly as it can, in a way that maintains, will be safe and easy for everyone in the group. Cross-referencing that against his memory, their path here. Where were the pitfalls? Where were the cactus patches that the horses might get trapped in? Where were troubling areas that someone might sprain their ankle? I'm going to make a survival roll.
Not wanting to be with Wyhan, I'm going to cast guidance on you, and Thad looks pretty ill and drained.
Amazing.
What does guidance give me? Plus 1d4? Or?
Yeah.
1d4.
Okay. You know what, I'm gonna. Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna use my luck now. Actually, in my last charge,
Okay.
and a D4 I'll auto pass.
Amazing. Yeah. So describe how you like. What's one fun moment that we have in that montage of someone you successfully kind of save or help navigate?
I think it's more just Harold just looking at this map and hating it. It's the only map they have, but Gnomes made it. He doesn't really have a better option. He's just pissed off.
I hate all of you.
And he's kind of cranky, and he's snapping at people when they wander off in the wrong direction.
Hey! Amazing. And that's at this point we're already in like afternoon. By this point, I am just. And it is an afternoon when, Claire, how do you receive a sending response?
I think I just hear. I mean, I've always just assumed that I hear the words in my mind. But if you have some extra flair you want to give Wyhan, I'm all ears. Like, she, right, is a powerful wizard. So-
Wyhan is a very powerful wizard, yes.
So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there were some dancing lights that went along with it.
Okay. I am just crafting this response from Wyhan, which she spent hours thinking of. The response you get. So Arlie, you send off this wonderfully magical, like you are imbued by the god of knowledge and wisdom, the world tree, that interconnects all beings. It is life, it is wisdom, it exists within the very parchment upon which you read everything you've learned. This is not just a random connection between the world tree and physical knowledge in our realm. Thusly, when you cast your spells, there's always this lovely calligraphy into the air, sending off in a very Kender and celestial magic. The return volley of this arcane energy is from a experienced, aged, and unimpressed magical user. There is not a physical form that represents the words that return to your mind, but they bubble up almost like remembering a dream. When you stare out at something and kind of say, that reminds me of this, and then you hear the words of Wyhan speaking in your mind in the same offhanded, almost insulting manner with which she talks to pretty much at least everyone you've ever met. The words in your mind are thus: a twinkle is just a fire from a distance. None have seen Nire alive for centuries. But his fire was not one to be extinguished.
Okay. And I wait a minute, sort of sort of in a stunned kind of like, like when you startle a cat and they're just like so that's what I'm going to look like. And then as soon as I have it, I'm going to look for an opportune moment to share with Helm. If that is now,
I'm going to say let's have another travel roll, and then you can talk to Helm. Who wants to do the next travel roll?
I can do the next travel roll.
Yeah.
Okay. I have Aura of a Sentinel, so I emit an aura of alertness.
Cool.
Normally that's within, but let's just extend that to
narrative
moving party.
funness.
Yeah, exactly. Usually it gives a bonus roll to initiative, but I think, Helm's kind of determined and is fired up, and is naturally emitting that towards the rest of the party as we're trucking along.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Give me a roll that would connect with that. What skill would that be? Perception, I suppose.
Or I guess
or
Dex, because that's like normally what you would.
Oh yeah.
We would imbue onto.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Although I don't know, my Dex isn't any good. No, my Dex is very bad.
Oh, but it's a skill challenge, so it's skill. It'd be a skill associated with Dex.
In that case, that feels more like Aura of Sentinel Alertness, survival, or perception.
Yeah, I could be convinced either way. They would have probably different narrative impacts through success or failure.
Yeah, we'll go perception. Pardon?
Oh, I rolled survival, so I don't think you can, but you chose perception.
Oh,
so
true.
You're good.
Perception it is.
A 10. A 10. What does it look like, that failure? Or does it look like Arlie coming up and talking to you?
I think so. That's what I imagined is
Yeah.
like the sudden diffusing of what that energy is.
I love it. So as you're kind of beginning to take the lead of this party, Arlie, now is the perfect time to tell Helm the message that you just received.
Hey, you don't look busy. So, so I have good news and bad news. Typically people always want the bad news first, followed by the good news, and that is the way Wyhan delivered it. So, oh gosh, and she's gonna pull out a parchment paper in which she scribbled the message on. Just
I'm imagining that I'm still walking, like we're all trotting along very quickly, like as this conversation is happening.
And it's one of those, like, Arlie's gait is half the length of Helm's, so Arlie has to kind of do that, like, little skip, run a few steps, and then walk and fall behind and skip, run a few steps as Helm plods
right,
quickly.
which means she's like clanking in her like scale mail.
Yeah,
As we
right,
go.
yeah. Ching, 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 clink, clink, ching, ching.
Exactly. Right. So, Wyhan, who was not very impressed that I guess, disturbed her tea time or whatever, said, "A twinkle is just a fire from a distance. None have seen Nere alive for centuries. But, and that's the bad news. This is the good news. But his fire was not one to be extinguished. So your friend's missing, but not dead. Missing, not presumed dead. I'm sorry, Helm, your face is very hard to read. Sort of a helmet kind of shape. I don't really know
You
how to
just
explain it.
hear like it's a weird reference. You know, Patty Lupone like stopped that show, and you could hear the orchestra go. You know, it's kind of like that, but with the screech of metal. As
Oh.
he just comes to like a grinding halt.
Oh, damn. Oh, Zivlin. Why must you know everything and nothing at the same time? This was not a good decision. I'm so sorry. I should have told you later about your missing friend. Come on, Helm! We've got an army to lead! Come on!
Yes, onward we go. And so Helm is still trudging along, but it is noticeably less enthused, and you can feel that aura diminishing.
Jeez, I'm sorry. I thought I did a good job. I really thought. And Arlie wanders away being like, I really thought I delivered that well. This is on Wyhan. Friend's not extinguished. I mean, that's a good thing. Whatever. Anyway.
It's like the only way to get better is a little bit of self-aware. Yeah, you're just like, well, how could I do that better next time? It's incredible. I'm gonna say, as we are getting back towards our expedition force, as the sun sets, I'm just gonna allow us to succeed in our final movement back into Wrecker's Edge, which will bring us back to our fun. I just love this image that we have of Wrecker's Edge here. It's quite nice. As we get to Wrecker's Edge, the sun is set behind, because you have to kind of come down to the water's edge. But by the time you're at the water's edge, you are in the shadows and the kind of violet sky as the sun is still setting above the horizon, or behind those high stone cliffs. What does the party do as they come into Wrecker's Edge? We have, in actual playtime, no more than 30 minutes. So this is this is our last stint with Helm for the moment until we get Louisa back. So want to give kind of just, that's a little meta statement, but to allow the party anything that we want to get done specifically within Wrecker's Edge. And we can also yada yada some long-term time here. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be by the moment. It can be over the course of hours or days, even, if you want.
I'm gonna go directly to sleep.
That makes
Um,
sense.
Whatever I'm gonna do with my 2 hours that I get of non-rest behavior, I will figure out after everybody does whatever they want to
Cool.
do.
Cool. But
But
your
I'm going straight.
your
to my
objective is
cot.
towards sleep.
I do shout for somebody to find me a bunch of incense, but I just go to bed.
Awesome. Yeah, make a
Or
note that you're
call it-
looking for some incense.
I'll see. It's some other thing. It's incense or
Something else.
I'll figure it out. I'll put it in the chat.
Harold is going to go to Helm.
Mhm.
And say, look, so I know we had a deal. You did your part, we did our part. But if I could appeal to you for one last favor, it'll only take a couple of hours of your time. It's just talking.
I promised you 3 days, and that is not yet up, so what would you like?
Great, we're gonna go talk to some gnomes.
And there's like almost a little bit of like interesting shoulder movement. You can tell that maybe Helm is like maybe kind of partial to gnomes.
Okay. So as we're walking to the gnomish workshop, Harold, having picked up on that, rather than to be a bit more polite about the situation, he's going to say, look, they can be hard to talk to, but they think that you're the best thing they've ever seen.
Hmm.
I want them to make a kind of a light bomb. Something,
What?
and light goes everywhere in case we have to face one of these shadows. Something to just completely drive that magic shadow away. A light bomb. I don't know. They'll figure it out. I asked them to do it. They're going to ignore me. So I was kind of hoping maybe you could pitch it to them. Because if it comes out of your mouth, they're going to just go, wow, oh, da-ba-da-ba-ba-da, you know?
If I say yes and they agree, you must promise not to use it recklessly, and only when lives are in danger.
Oh, of course.
Well, okay then. And
I only take my own life without any seriousness.
that's perhaps not the best either, but we can get to that another time.
It's okay. There's backstory.
Very good.
Amazing. So you
Ah,
guys, you take the gnomes don't leave the ethereal dread, and by gnomes the one gnome whose name is lost to my notes in many different locations.
There's probably like 6 G's in it. There's always like 6 G's and a Z in there. So
Yeah.
just make up some consonants.
All we know,
voices and-
it ends in a vowel. Let's put it that way. Yeah. You find the gnome. Also, all gnomes look alike to Harold, so you know it's just we're from his perspective at this point. This is one of those first-person chapters in Game of Thrones. You arrive onto the ethereal dread and into the workshop, where actually just 2 days ago, only slightly over 2 days ago, Helm, you first came back into consciousness. And you find a steaming
Helm
little...
steps around maybe slightly more carefully.
Amazing.
You might not be crashing through as many doorways.
Yeah. You learn that with care and your now like more kinesthetic awareness of your metallic form, you can pass through these bulkheads without destroying them. It just takes some intentionality. And with such care, you enter the Gnomish workshop, which has been fully cleaned up, if you can ever call them clean, still full of little shiny, clinky, tinky things, and the espresso machine bubbling away in the corner, with the little gnome on a normal-sized chair, swinging his little feet, sipping an espresso through his large white beard.
I kind of lean up as close as I can and just like right beside him and like, hello.
Ah, benvenuto, welcome back. How was the adventuring?
There's like an awkward silence. And then Helm just like deflects and goes into his next request. It has been long since I have toiled in this world, and I am in need of some assistance. I was told that you are quite the craftsman, and was wondering if I could get some help.
Oh, you flatter me. It is too nice. I do a little tinkering here and there, but yes, what is it for? Can I do you?
I'm hoping for a device that will explode light for when lives need to be defended from shadowy forces.
I see. With some, he's gonna start asking some questions, and like this is gonna turn into a little bit of a how helpful are you being as the gnome starts to kind of create a list of like requirements and questions.
Me?
Helm.
I think it's helpful because I can be within my. I don't think I know. Like, I think I have a basic understanding of what Harold wants, but short of him providing me a lot more details, it's going to be more of
Awesome,
like
yeah.
a big picture thing.
Yeah, Harold can chip in too.
Yeah, for sure. This is just to like you know, we could spend a lot of time on this like little back and forth that starts off with like, well, we can do a light bomb or like a flashbang, but no, we're talking about a magical darkness. Well, I can do something like that too. No, it's not. It's more like this, and it's like starting to like kind of develop and building little schematics, scrapping them as you kind of the parameters of what the request is.
The table talk is I was just trying to set up you for having a funny scene with Louisa because I know it's got about half an hour left in the game. But we can also yada yada.
No, I wanted to get past that part because that is the first stage of this conversation is kind of like a requirements assessment. And finally, after going through the different levels of what is required, finally there's a look, and you can give me a perception check if you want, as the gnome, their eyes change, and what becomes this kind of like helpful, like, yes, and then this is for what I can do. Oh, yeah, okay, no, of course, it does. Ah, yes, no, it is. Oh, no, I see. Oh, and then it changes this. Oh, I see.
What do your gnome eyes see?
What for you ask is it is a very big, how do you say, como se dice, demand. This is something that requires not just any light. This is what you describe to be we must have. And he goes and closes the door of the ship to make sure there's no one listening. A celestial light, something that is no longer in this world. Since the cataclysm, the celestial light that has been extinguished. The only place that I have seen this is from you. He looks to you, Helm.
How can I offer that?
I think it may be possible to to harness some of this energy from the constructs, but such a procedure, I cannot promise this. How you say?
Do it. Please.
Whoa, 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 whoa! We need something to put Takesis back into. Let's not lose the war to win a battle here.
Ah, no, Master Gray. The Legion construct, it is indestructible. Nothing will destroy this. But what you see here, our large friend, this is a reflection, a aspect of the prism of but one of the contained celestials. If we are to siphon maybe some of this, I think I can create what it is for you ask, but maybe we lose your friend.
Take what you need.
Harold looks at Helm. This is your decision, but I do not ask this of you.
I know. But as hard as it has been being back and to find out what I have, it is clear that it were better if people were safeguarded and protected. And that, in some small way, I can offer.
The gnome comes over to the table and says,
Does something that he hasn't
Oh.
ever done before to a figure of authority of any kind, which is that he takes his hat off and bows very deeply. And it's a bow that he holds for a significant period of time before slowly raising and making visor slit contact, saying, I thank you for this service.
The light in the visor flickers a little bit. And then Helm nods. And then offers over to what's the gnome's name?
I can't find it.
Anyone can hear me, so I don't know why I'm whispering shit.
I can't find it. Who took notes here? Not me.
This
This is
All right,
terrible.
It turns over to the gnome.
The gnome, yeah.
That's
Um, the gnome sits you indicates for you to sit down on the same table that you first awoke on. Has already moved over a large piece of machinery, and in this kind of equally solemn words that Harold just shared, says, "This, yes, my halfling friend is very right. This is a great sacrifice, and one that not only you make. For to do this, I must disassemble my espresso machine." And he takes a hammer and smashes it, opening up a strange, multifaceted bang, 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 bang. The beautiful brass curved just explodes out. There's some hot water tanks and rummages through, takes out from the inside a wonderful multifaceted ball like a crystal with 1,000 surfaces on it. Places it down, actually offers it to you, Helm. If you may, but hold this.
Does?
He then goes back and gets what was destroyed, that kind of telescope device that was destroyed when you first woke up, that was used to reactivate you. There's a bit of it is still kind of around. It takes a little while for him to kind of reassemble those same lenses, but this time in a more ramshackle way, pointing from your visor into this circular kind of crystal ball. that has flat edges. And once fully set up, takes a moment, and one last check between you and Harold. I am ready.
As am I.
Okay. Takes a small candle, lights it with a bit of like spark, just a piece of like just a simple like, kind of arcana snap of his fingers, lights the candle, brings it over close to your eyes, and the light shines and creates almost like a sun flare in your vision, Helm, that grows like an oncoming migraine, and begins to blind your vision. Harold, from the outside, you see the light shine into Helm's eyes. Those eyes then begin to glow white hot, and that light focus into the crystal. This light continues to cycle and grow from flame to aspect of God, and then into the crystal. And the crystal continues to grow in brightness until you are unable to look, and you either have to cover your eyes or turn away. There is no sound, just the creaking of the ship. And finally, when you can see your own shadows on the back wall as you have to face away from this light, it goes dim and not flickering like the candle anymore, but just like a dim dawn light. As you turn back, you see that this crystal now contains a soft, glowing light within it. And holding it is no longer Helm, but the neutral form of Legion, covered in crystals. Moving back...
The construct.
Yeah, the construct is inert. Next week...
I'm just going to say, is there another socket missing?
No.
Like there was when... Okay.
No.
Wait, so the one that we lost that was stolen by that that person that flew out the window that one time, that socket is no longer empty?
No. That's still empty. That's the the
Okay.
right eye.
He was
Or that's
checking. Yeah, I think he
yeah.
was checking to see if another crystal disappeared as part of the sacrifice that Helm just
Yeah.
made. Like Helm
Gotcha.
be vanished.
Yeah. No, the sacrifice was like the sacrifice wasn't the destruction of Helm's crystal, but it was Helm losing dominance over the construct, and that like spike energy that allowed Helm to take over the construct's form was harnessed into this crystal, reverting and then bringing it back into a dormant state. Helm.
Gotcha.
But Arlie, so Aelric goes back to sleep. Thad is going back to sleep. To finish off our session this week, Arlie, describe what our little companions do as the rest of the party falls into a slumber. We have a small adventure at a small scale of a little rat wearing a feathered cap and a library cat. You're muted, Claire. I hope you weren't.
Shoot, sorry. Sorry. I was just saying, thank you for the beautiful little flow there, and I just wanted to make sure in the chat, did you see that Aelric was going to check and see if the ranger group was still out before going to bed, or is that, we'll look into that.
That would have to be next session. That's going to be like a larger action.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So as Arlie sets up her little shrine to Zivlin, her little portable shrine to Zivlin that she prays at before falling asleep doing her cleric things. And normally Library Cat sits there purring and sort of watching the sort of, the divine presence kind of a thing. And so Arlie just assumes Library Cat is there while praying. And then as she goes for her long rest, she looks around and is like, Library Cat? Library Cat? Because she uses him as a pillow. And Library Cat is not there. and I imagine that what I think they do, I think Squeak Noir leaves like little notes. Like, so I think that Squeak Noir has drawn like a little, like just on a little piece of parchment paper, there's just like a picture of like I picture it like a little like a little skull and crossbones, but it's like a little mouse mouse and crossbones.
Okay.
And it means to me it means that they've gone hunting. Like it's like they're out or whatever. They don't do it all. They don't do it every time. Sometimes they're just gone. But usually when Arlie's going to pray, Library Cat is normally there. Library Cat is not there.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just picture that they're off chasing.
I love this. Okay, so yeah,
animal.
as Arlie goes to sleep and like looking for Library Cat, her normal pillow, she finds just a little slip of paper, and on it, in like a rough scratch, is the image of a cat's skull with bones crossing it, and the signature of Squeak Noir, the S and N superimposed on one another. And as we pan to a broad shot of all of the boats at night and the watchfires of the expedition force, in the foreground, the little cat crests into the foreground of the shot with a little Squeak Noir riding on its back and a gleam in its hand of a small rapier as they go off into the darkness to hunt. What? We will find out next week on Legion. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Louisa, for being our guest and for the guest for the last few weeks. It was so wonderful. Thank you to our players and to everyone who watched, who jumped in the chat, for joining us. Our sessions wouldn't be the same without you, because in this game, you aren't just the audience. You are Legion. Once again, our players today were Claire Hogan, Michael Keane, Sam Gilroy, Sean Boyd. My name's Nicholas Coysedtillo. Our special guest was Louisa Zhu. Join us next week as Paul comes for the second session of our special prologue with a player character whose name might be Nire, as we weave this epic tale together. Bye.